we spent with Shedeur, and what he's done throughout his college career is impressive. He's an impressive young man. He's a really good quarterback. Sometimes, fit comes into play.
Picture this. Andrew Berry sitting back in his office, sipping coffee, probably thinking the biggest drama of his day would be an Excel crash. Then out of nowhere, B.A.M. The Miami Dolphins kick that door down like it's WrestleMania, shouting, "We'll take Shedeur Sanders." The man nearly baptized his laptop in hot coffee. This isn't your everyday trade whisper. This is a full-blown NFL soap opera, dripping in chaos and scandal. The Dolphins aren't fishing for talent, they're dragging in sharks, and somehow Cleveland's looking like the bait caught on the hook. Barry thought he was living a quiet GM life, crunching numbers, pretending Cleveland actually has a 5-year plan, and patting himself on the back for drafting Shedeur Sanders like he just pulled off the heist of the century. But then, boom! Miami storms the storyline like action movie villains kicking down a safe house door, demanding the golden ticket. They want Shedeur, and they don't mean someday down the line, they mean right now. Barry's jaw dropped so far, you'd think it was held up by cartoon springs. Because here's the wild part. Other teams are lining up to treat Shedeur like he's a priceless diamond, while his own coach in Cleveland is still acting like the kid's just a water boy intern, only good for passing out Gatorade.
A change under center after a dreadful start. They want Shedeur Sanders traded to the Dolphins. Should Miami make a new move, Ocho?
It's only week 1, huh? It's no time to hit the panic button.
Man, the fans don't care about no week 1, week 2, week 10.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Now I'm part of the fans. I'm a true Dolphin fan.
The Browns front office and coaching staff might as well be living on different planets right now. Andrew Berry is up on his soapbox screaming to anyone who will listen, "This is the guy. This is our future, the franchise savior." Meanwhile, Kevin Stefanski is polishing his clipboard like it's his best friend, mumbling, "Future? I'm stuck in the present. And in the present, I don't trust rookies." The man is so allergic to letting Shedeur shine, he should be carrying an EpiPen on the sideline. And then, out of nowhere, Miami swoops in, the Dolphins of all teams, the same squad that turned Tyreek Hill into a living video game glitch and made Tua look like an MVP candidate on any given Sunday. Suddenly, they've got their eyes locked on Shedeur. Here's the kicker. They don't just see him as good. They see him as plug-and-play elite, which makes Cleveland look ridiculous, like the guy who owns a Ferrari but insists on driving a beat-up 97 Honda Civic because it's got character. The Dolphins don't hand out trade proposals like Halloween candy. They choose their targets carefully. And if they're circling Shedeur, that means they've spotted something Cleveland refuses to admit exists. A young quarterback who can flip a franchise upside down. And the fans are done being patient. They're already flooding social media with Photoshop edits of Shedeur in a teal Dolphins jersey.
Shedeur won the 2 damn competitions that existed and you still didn't care. You just want to go with Dylan, and it is not because Dylan is the preference for Stefanski. It is because the culture in Cleveland doesn't support a black franchise QB long-term at the number 1 spot, drafted number 1 or drafted 144. They thought they could pigeonhole him there, which was ridiculous, which means they don't know talent and they don't give a damn about it. They knew coming out of training camp, Shedeur Sanders was going to make it.
Because nothing screams frustration louder than rooting for your guy in another team's colors. It's gotten so bad in Cleveland, it feels like people are whispering, "Get Shedeur out of town before his own coach ruins him." Pure chaos. Absolute uncut chaos. And Andrew Berry, he's stuck in the middle like a stressed out dad trying to referee kids fighting over the Xbox controller. On one side is Stefanski clutching his precious system. On the other side are hungry NFL teams circling like vultures. And floating above it all is a fan base that's furious, impatient, and convinced Cleveland is seconds away from fumbling the one good thing they've had in years. Now let's talk about Stefanski. Because at this point, his refusal to play Shedeur isn't strategy, it's ego. The man acts like handing Shedeur the keys would cause the entire stadium to spontaneously combust. It's not even about readiness anymore, it's about Stefanski protecting his system like it's the crown jewels of England. The problem? That system is rusted junk and everyone knows it. The fans know it, the locker room feels it, and deep down, even Barry can't deny it. The whole thing is starting to look like a bad sitcom plot. And meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins are licking their chops. If Cleveland's dumb enough to hesitate,
A long time, and it hurts me that I've never been able to see us have a successful season, have a great quarterback outside of Dan Marino. We've been looking for that position for a very long time. I thought Tua was the answer. I still think Tua was the answer. It's too soon to hit the panic button. Everybody can't be this superstar tier 1 quarterback like Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Everybody can't get that. But what we can have an adequate quarterback that can facilitate the ball, do what's asked of him offensively, not turn it over, and we can win games.
Miami will gladly swoop in and build their offense around Shedeur. Can you even imagine Shedeur lined up with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? That's not football. That's Mario Kart on turbo mode with blue shells flying every play. Browns fans aren't even hiding it anymore. They're straight up telling Shedeur to get out while he still can. They don't care if it looks disloyal because after decades of quarterback misery, they refuse to sit back and watch another golden talent rot away on the bench while Stefanski plays keep away with their future. Loyalty's gone. The only thing left is desperation and rage. And poor Andrew Berry, he's stuck in the ugliest dilemma of his career.
It's starting to swirl, man. We getting some new information out of Cleveland that the Cleveland Browns veteran players are about to turn their back on Kevin Stefanski. And is he losing control over the locker room? Now, we've seen this whole quarterback situation play out through the draft. We've seen what's happening in the training camp, seen what's happening in practice, and we've seen what's happening in preseason. Now, all camp long, there's reports that was surfacing and people in the media talking about.
In public, he's forced to smile and back up Stefanski because of optics, but behind closed doors, he's sweating through his suit. The longer this circus drags on, the more likely Shedeur starts asking himself, do I really need this drama? Maybe Miami or literally anywhere else would treat me like the star I am. And don't get it twisted, it's not just the Dolphins circling. Other teams are lurking too, waiting for Cleveland to trip over its own shoelaces. Every time fans catch a glimmer of hope, the Browns stomp it out like a toddler splashing in puddles, but this time that puddle could drown Shedeur's entire career. So what's next? That's the million-dollar question. Only 3 roads exist. Barry goes nuclear, storms Stefanski's office, and says, play Shedeur or pack your desk. Or Miami drops a trade package so massive it can't be refused, snatching Shedeur and instantly turning Cleveland into the laughingstock of the entire league. Imagine it, drafting Shedeur Sanders just to gift wrap him for the Dolphins so he can ball out in the playoffs while Cleveland's still clueless about who their QB even is.
Ski refuses to answer Shedeur questions about who's going to get the first rep or who's going to take this amount of reps or lineups and stuff like that.
I mean, we don't pay too close attention to who's in there.
Will it change tomorrow?
Hey, will you be here?
Yeah.
I'll see you here.
And you should have been prepared for all of this. Right when we saw that moment when you drafted him and y'all looked at this interested.
This is peak Browns dysfunction, textbook Cleveland chaos. The standoff drags on like a bad soap opera. Stefanski stays stubborn, Barry keeps sweating through his button-ups, Shedeur stays glued to the bench, and fans are losing their minds over the fact that a quarterback other teams are literally fighting over is treated like some gamble too risky to touch. Meanwhile, Miami's sitting there like a shark circling bloody water, waiting for the call so they can crown him their next superstar. You couldn't script a better mess if you tried. The plot has everything. A young quarterback with sky-high potential.
If we don't, here it is, Ocho. Here's Kevin Stefanski not letting Shedeur run the 2-minute drill at the end of the game with the Browns. Let's take a listen to what he had. Yeah, he's like, Coach, let me get this last one. Give me an opportunity. Nah, we good. We go.
Coach digging his heels into the dirt, a desperate GM caught in the crossfire, rival teams circling like vultures, and fans who sound ready to storm the parking lot with pitchforks. It's drama, comedy, and tragedy all at once, and poor Shedeur, he's stuck in the middle of it all, frozen in limbo. Does he stay and bet on Barry somehow winning this power struggle? Does he escape and join a squad that actually believes in him? Or does he wait it out, risking that by the time Cleveland finally wakes up, his prime will already be slipping away? And let's be real, Browns fans already know how this story ends. It's the same old heartbreak, the same old chaos, the same old Cleveland staring at the wreckage, shaking their heads, asking, how did we blow it again?
This is what happens when you take bad advice. This is what happens when you listen to all the negative hoopla around a player and the public is the main judge, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that have to show up. We're the ones that have to purchase the tickets. We're the ones that have to purchase the jerseys. We understand organization, we understand tradition and all that other stuff, but ultimately, if you have no fans, you have no team. And the fans have spoken loud and clear about who.
Because history is clear. When the Browns hold a golden ticket, they usually cash it in for expired coupons. If Cleveland actually lets Shedeur slip through their fingers, the jokes will write themselves for the next decade. This isn't just football anymore. This is a full-on soap opera of power struggles, inflated egos, and a fan base that looks ready to torch the stadium if they don't get their way. And right in the center of this firestorm is Andrew Barry, staring at the horrifying possibility that his dream franchise quarterback could soon be starring in someone else's highlight reel. Once again, Cleveland might fumble away the future, and the fallout is already boiling over, and we're not even at the offseason yet. The Browns are acting like they've got time, but in the NFL, time isn't some cushy luxury. Time is a grenade with the pin halfway pulled, and Barry is just standing there praying Stefanski magically finds common sense. Spoiler alert, he won't. Every snap Shedeur spends chained to the sidelines is a screaming message across the league, louder than a stadium PA system. This kid is available. And the worst part, every wasted snap is basically a giant invitation for rival GMs to start blowing up Barry's phone with trade offers. Miami might be the flashy one.
A lot of work that gets done when you guys aren't out there, believe it or not. But even that's, and I say that, Mary Kay, even in a meeting or in a walkthrough, just our guys are getting exposed to a lot. Different, every day we're mixing and matching, if you will, giving guys different looks. I've told you before, it's not going to be a 25% down the middle type thing, or I guess down to fourth, but we're trying to expose the guys to different things. What have you? This is an all-encompassing evaluation. So we were evaluating the guys during phase 1, during phase 2, and now finally phase 3, you get to go against your defense in some settings where our quarterbacks and our offense get to go against them in 7-on-7 and some.
Because they got the fastest offense in football and a gift for stealing headlines. But they're not the only sharks circling. You can bet your mortgage at least half a dozen teams are already scribbling down trade proposals like college kids cramming before finals. Atlanta, hungry, New England, desperate. Even so-called stable teams like Minnesota lurking in the shadows, waiting for Cleveland to prove once again they just can't handle having nice things. Imagine fans loving Shedeur so much they'd rather see him ball out for another franchise than rot on the bench under Stefanski's tired trust the process routine. That's not loyalty to the Browns, that's loyalty to the player. And once that line gets crossed, it's game over for the coach. Now zoom out and look at the optics. What does it say about Cleveland if a legit playoff squad like Miami, a team with real Super Bowl dreams, believes Shedeur could start for them while the Browns won't even let him sniff the turf? It screams that Cleveland has once again turned itself into the NFL's reality show, a GM begging for one outcome, a coach clinging to another, and a fan base sharpening their pitchforks in the parking lot.
After yesterday and not putting him in for the 2-minute.
Yeah, obviously, I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better. And that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
He kind of glitched out a little bit there, but hey, his answer is his answer. Why weren't you able to come up with a counter to the defense that the LA Rams are running so you can get your offense going?
Andrew Berry probably isn't even sleeping at this point. Picture him pacing around at 3 a.m., refreshing Twitter every 30 seconds, terrified of seeing Dolphins send massive trade package for Shedeur Sanders trending across the timeline. Because if that headline ever drops, his legacy is cooked. You don't recover from being the GM who drafted Shedeur only to ship him off before he even got a real chance. And the whispers are already spreading. Fans pushing for action, Berry scrambling for answers, Stefanski doubling down in defiance, and Shedeur quietly plotting his way out. That's not a team anymore. That's a ticking soap opera ready to explode on national TV. The tension is boiling so hot you can practically see the steam rising off Cleveland Stadium. Every day that Shedeur stays benched, the pressure piles higher. Like a ticking clock nobody in the building knows how to stop. The fans are restless. The media is circling like vultures, and rival GMs are quietly dialing Berry's phone just to see if today's the day he finally cracks. And Stefanski?
Browns are making a huge mistake, and here's why. Shedeur Sanders just put up 2 TDs, 138 yards, scraps for practice reps, and they still haven't buried as QB4. Here are the Browns QBs in this order. No change. If I'm Shedeur, I'm not waiting behind those guys. Demand a trade out of Cleveland. Raiders and the Saints, he could walk in tomorrow and compete for QB1. Instead, the Browns just want him to sit. You've got a QB who's ready, and you're letting him.
He's acting like none of this noise even matters, hiding behind his clipboard like it's a shield. But the truth is, his refusal has turned into something bigger than football. It's personal now. It's about control, about proving that his way is the only way, even if it means dragging the entire franchise down with him. That stubborn streak is exactly what has fans ready to explode in the stands. Meanwhile, Berry's cornered. Every sleepless night pushes him closer to the breaking point because he knows one brutal truth. If Shedeur leaves Cleveland and lights it up somewhere else, Berry's name will be burned into NFL history as the GM who gift-wrapped a superstar for another team. That's the kind of stain you never wash out. And you can bet the Dolphins are watching with popcorn in hand, waiting for Cleveland to self-destruct. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Shedeur Sanders, that's a headline offense already being written in Miami sports blogs. If the Browns don't act fast, they won't just lose their quarterback, they'll lose their dignity. And in the NFL, once the locker room, the fans, and the headlines turn against you, it's already too late. By now, the Browns aren't just in a quarterback controversy, they're in the middle of a national punchline. Every sports network is running segments with bold letters flashing across the screen. What's wrong in Cleveland? Talk show hosts are cracking jokes about the Browns fumbling quarterbacks the same way they fumble playoff chances. And every meme on social media is the same. Shedeur Sanders in another team's jersey, while Cleveland looks like the clueless ex who let the one get away. Inside the building, though, it's anything but funny. Players are whispering in the locker room.
Are coming in. If Shedeur Sanders plays well in the preseason, he's going to get traded. And Nick Wright seems to know the team.
The Rams. The reason I said the Rams is they might have a need for spot starter this year, but also this could be Stafford's last year.
For better or for worse, no one in the history of the NFL has brought more attention and interest to preseason football.
Shedeur Sanders, go and make some waves, dude, and it's all football. It's not anything off the field, it's football.
Than Shedeur Sanders.
Watch the ratings for this Friday preseason game. Oh, you did.
Wondering why the future is chained to the bench. Veterans who've seen this movie before are rolling their eyes, knowing the ending always tastes like heartbreak. And Shedeur, he's keeping his cool on the surface, but every snap he doesn't take is another reminder that this franchise might not value him the way others clearly do. And that's where the nightmare begins for Andrew Berry. Because once a player feels unwanted, the clock starts ticking. Trade demands, quiet leaks to the media, agents stirring the pot. It's all coming down the pipeline if Cleveland doesn't get their act together. The Dolphins are loud about their interest, but don't think for a second they're the only ones circling. From Atlanta to New England, from Minnesota to Vegas, teams are sharpening their offers, waiting for Cleveland to slip just once. The Browns have turned a gift into a scandal, and the more they stall, the more this story snowballs into something they'll never be able to control. This isn't just about winning games anymore. It's about survival, pride, and keeping the whole city from turning on them completely. The irony here is so thick, you could spread it on toast. The Browns finally stumble onto a quarterback with real star power, swagger, and legit talent. And instead of giving him the keys to the kingdom, they're out in the metaphorical parking lot arguing over who gets to hold the spare set. Meanwhile, Miami's standing there with the garage door wide open, waving a shiny sports car and calling out, "Hey, Shedeur, we'll let you drive." It doesn't take a genius to see where this road leads. So what's the end game? Either Cleveland wakes up and realizes they've been sitting on a franchise quarterback in plain sight, or they choke again, fumbling him away and watching Shedeur light up the league in another jersey. And if history tells us anything, well, Browns fans already know which way this story leans, and it ain't the happy ending. If you made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you on the next one.